Questions that I have for you today is number one, what is your relationship with failure? Number two, would you consider taking that piece of technology that you are using or that you're struggling to use out for a coffee so that the two of you could get to know each other better? Now, let's look at, as always, I've been sharing with you some of the lessons from the books that I've been reading. So in the book, The Inner Game by Matthew Brown, he talks about the concept of re-entry rate. And what is this re-entry rate? It is the number of times that entrepreneurs or business people like myself and maybe yourself get back into something after they have failed. Now, in the United States, this rate is 3.6 times. That means in the United States, people fail at least 4 times before they quit. Here's the shocking stats. In South Africa, this rate is 1.1 times, which means that in South Africa, we try something once and that's it. If it doesn't work, we're already looking for employment. We're looking already going back to work. So that's how terrible this re-entry rate is in South Africa. So, and recently I've started sharing my personal experiences with failure. So these are my experiences that I've had with my journey where I think I've made wrong decisions or where I think, well, I tried this and it didn't work. And the reason for me to do this is simply because I do not think that as people, we talk about failure enough. Yet in these journeys, where we fail or where we try something and it doesn't work or where things don't go right, there are a lot of lessons that we can learn from these things. The challenge that we have these days is sometimes you get someone who's going to tell you how they started a restaurant with only just one rice. And you wonder, is this one grain of rice? Is it one bag of rice? You don't know. They don't tell you the real story behind them starting this restaurant, where they have failed. You just see this beautiful story, now a fully running restaurant, and that's all we see. No one talks about failure. And if you look on social media, no one really talks about failure as well. We see these flashy pictures, we see these flashy stories, and no one really goes into telling us where they failed. But like I said earlier, there is so much that we can learn from failure. Not just us, but other people that may also try the same things that we are also trying. The man who invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison, is known for this famous saying where he says, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is so amazing. So if someone attempts something for 10,000 times and still doesn't give up, why do we give up after just one attempt? In fact, I was reading the story of Samson and Delilah in Judges chapter 16, and I realized something, that Delilah didn't try to bring Samson down only one time. She tried 3 times until she brought Samson down. And until the Philistines overpowered him and arrested him and took him up. And something also happened with him. He failed once, but as soon as his hair starts to grow, he realizes his mistake. And the Bible says on his last day, he killed more Philistines than he had done in his entire life when he was still alive. So I'll ask you again, why do you fail once and give up? In fact, we see some people praying for something once and, you pray for something and the thing that you're praying for gets worse, or, you don't see an answer to whatever you're praying for. And you don't want to pray again. You just leave it. But if you look at the parable of the persistent widow in Luke chapter 18, you will realize that the king ended up giving this woman what she wanted because she kept asking. So I'll ask you again, why do you give up after just one attempt? So you might be asking me this question: at what point do I know I have failed? Or at what point do I know that I need to stop? The answer is simple for me to say, do you define what failure means to you. And if you know what failure means to you, are you able then to set up triggers that will, inform you that you have now failed? I'll give you an example. And I learned this concept of failure triggers yesterday when I was listening to Nick Harris. But I'll give you an example. So recently, I'm learning to trade shares online. And there is a powerful tool that is called stop losses. This is something that I can use if I know that a share price, if a share price is going to fall by a certain percentage or to a certain price, and this trigger comes up and says, hey, Lars, your share has fallen up down by this number or to such a price. And I would think to myself, okay, is anything fundamental about this business changing? Do I need to exit or do I need to stay in? So if anything changes and I believe that really the share price is going to continue to fall, then I know that I have failed with this investment. I'll need to exit. But if the fundamentals of this company have not changed, I know that I'll still need to stay put because the share price will bounce back at some point. So you may find some examples in your own personal life where you can use failure triggers, so you can know when to give up or to still keep trying. Let's get back to the world of business. Douglas Kruger in his book, Is Your Thinking Keeping You Poor, also talks about embracing failure. And the takeaway points for me here are, number one, use failure as a feedback system. In other words, what are you getting out of your failure experience? Number two, what is that failure experience actually trying to teach you? So instead of saying, well, I've tried it, I'm going to leave it, look at it differently and ask yourself, what is this experience trying to teach me? Number three, do not see failure as a full stop, but rather as a learning curve. Number four, use failure as a guiding tool, something that shows you what to do and what not to do. So if you remember what we spoke about earlier in the example of Thomas Edison, where he said, I have not failed, but I have found 10,000 ways that don't work. Number five, failure is an opportunity for you to go back to the drawing board and fine-tune your product, your process, or your decision. Number six, Mike Tyson is famously known for saying everyone has a plan until they're punched in the face. But if you look at his career, even though he won quite a lot of matches, there were some matches where he really got a beating, but he didn't give up. You would see him in the ring again on the next fight. Number seven, failure is good because without it, we would not know what is not working. And we can never know what can or what should be changed. Number eight, if you are willing to learn from your mistakes and those of others, you will be able to unleash your full potential and you'll be able to grow from this. And you might be asking yourself this question from a business point of view to say, when do I quit my business? Or when do I know that my business has failed? Matthew Brown, in his book, Your Inner Game, answers this question by using the framework that asks two questions. The first question is, are you in love with your vision, the vision for your business? The second question is your business making money? Here are the questions again. Are you in love with the vision of your business? In other words, your why you started the business and where you want the business to be. Number two, is your business making money? Right? Because at the end of the day, what we want to see in the business is cash in the bank account. So if you are still in love with your vision, but your business is not making money, then you need to ask yourself the question, what needs to be changed in my business for me to be able to make money in this business? If your business is making money, but you have grown out of love with your vision, then you should be questioning why that has happened, but not quitting. However, if your business, at the last he says, if your business is not making money and you're fallen out of love with the vision of your business, in other words, why you started your business in the first place, then it is probably the right time for you to quit. Right. So what are we saying in concluding this part of our series? We're asking the question, what is your relationship with failure? Do you avoid it at all costs? Do you embrace it and ask the question, what is this experience trying to teach me? So from today, begin to freely talk about failure and learning from it, because your personal growth and personal development is closely related to this concept of embracing failure. Now, let's get to our business and technology segment. And the question I asked you earlier was, what if I asked you to take that piece of technology that you're using or that you're struggling with out for coffee so that the two of you can get to know each other better? Let me tell you a story. One day I went to a supermarket to buy a few things that I needed to use in the house. I get to the till point expecting to pay a certain amount of money for these few things that I picked up. But when I looked at the slip, it was way less than what I had expected to pay. So I checked my till slip versus what I was having in my basket, and I realized that the lady on the other side of the till had missed a few things on the slip. So I asked her if she could, ring up these other things that she had forgotten or that she had skipped on the till. And the lady on the other side of the till began to complain about this piece of technology that she was using, a seemingly advanced till point that she was using. And she was saying, I never used to have these silly mistakes in the past. Why do they keep changing these things? Why do they keep changing the technology? And the other lady was standing on the queue was also, supporting her in this view to say, we should keep using the same technology that we were using before so that we don't make these mistakes. At that point, I didn't know what to say because I was ultimately outnumbered. So I just smiled and walked out. But then I got home and I checked my slip again against what I had in the plastic bag. And again, she had missed another item on those things. And I had to go back the next day to pay for that one particular thing. And unfortunately, she was no longer there. But I wanted to tell you that technology is not your enemy. Technology is your ally. Technology is there to make your lives easier. Now, I want us to listen to